Morning all. I thought it would be interesting to explore the concept of loose pieces in relation to double attacks again, and also go into the underlying reasons why this is so important. I've got some more examples here. Again, Murray Chandler against Werner Beckenmeyer in the Bundesliga 1986-87 saw this position, and black just played bishop b7, and can you guess what white played here? Just winning material. There's a loose piece here and it's subject to a double attack, bishop c7. Whoops. The point is about double attacks really is the fundamental point is in chess we're each given one turn to move. You move, the opponent moves. So the double attack, why that's so centrally important, writers like Yuri Averbach have emphasized that a lot of tactics in chess simply boil down to double attack in one form or another. And here, the opponent cannot, play two moves. If the opponent could play two moves, he could move the knight, and actually if he moved the rook, he'd still drop the bishop. It's a pretty bad position actually, even if he had several moves, this is pretty bad. So, but the point is about double attacks, that's what really makes them so powerful. The idea that we only have one move in chess each turn. Now in this game actually black tries bishop takes a6, so at the moment Murray couldn't take here because of the check. He leaves this double attack in place by simply replying with bishop takes a6, and there we have it, the double attack, and there's no resources now for black to save himself from this. Now let's go on to another example that I made a note of here in a game of Fischer playing black, and I've annotated with an oops myself just to get to the relevant point in the game. Rook takes a4, queen e4, and now Dr. Anthony Sadie, playing white against Fischer in 1968 New York tournament, played bishop takes a5, and can you spot why Fischer can create a loose piece in the first instance? And then once he's created that loose piece, he can use the double attack to win material. So can you spot what Fischer plays here? Okay, if I give you 5 more seconds. Okay, rook takes a5. It creates a loose rook here on a5, and it can be subject to a double attack. So as I say, in chess, you're only given one turn to move. And when there's a double attack like this, you can only use your move to move the king here. That's the legal requirement. Then it will be losing the rook. So that was the end of that game after king h2, queen takes a5. It's a fundamental property basically of chess, which is turn based. We get one turn to move, so the double attack overloads. In some cases though, the opponent's response could be a double defense. And you can even, in some cases, do a triple attack, as one of my good club mates emphasised when I brought this up the other night. And a triple attack can also be answered sometimes by a triple defence. But the idea is you're kind of overloading the opponents. They've only got one turn to move. And let's have a look at this Topolov example now. We reach this position. Whoa! I've gone a bit too quick. Didn't annotate this quite as how I wanted it. Pardon me. In this position, I hope I didn't give anything away there. Now here, actually, you might not think it's a loose piece here. We can also abstract to be a loose point in the position. A loose point or a loose piece is still subject to overload. Now a loose point here, a liability for black, a tactical liability is this d8 possibility for white. So more abstractly, the loose points can be a subject of a double attack. And here, Topolov exploits the d8 kind of loose point and combines that with a double attack. Okay. So can you see what white plays here in this position? If I give you 10 seconds starting from now. Okay, rook f5. So if the queen takes, then we take on f8, and if the queen just got out of the way, we take and then queen e8. It's pretty disastrous, really. If we go like this, then queen e8, there's that loose point there. Double attack again, actually, d8 and the queen. Black's overloaded, basically. If he takes here, then we just take, and then again, overloaded, double attack on d8 and here. So it's just winning material like this. So the loose point is also, a tactical vulnerability, that you're basically overloading the opponent with this tactical concept, the double attack in the wider sense, of a tactical vulnerability in the wider sense. But for the subject of this series at the moment, it's a loose piece. Nigel Short against was playing white, and we'll flip the board, and he's got this pinned piece. Now it is protected by two pieces, and some of you were emphasizing, counting the number of pieces attacking, defending. Well, there's a more accurate way of detecting tactical vulnerabilities, which is, as I mentioned before, the docking computer concept. You look at all the forcing moves and you become aware of tactical vulnerabilities. Now, once you do become aware of a tactical vulnerability, then double attacks are often at the center of the theme for exploiting that. And here we see bishop takes d6, knight takes d6, and an unfortunate move here from Nigel Short. He plays g4. Can you see what black did here to kind of exploit this tactical vulnerability? So in the wider sense, this is a kind of double attack on this kind of loose piece, even though it's protected by two pieces. There's a double attack sort of created. If I give you 10 seconds starting from now. Knight e4. So it's interfering with the protection of the knight, and that's winning material actually, because here we'd get, so knight takes e4, we get this double attack. White's only got one turn to move. If he moves the queen, he's losing this. So it's a double attack on queen and knight. Knight takes f6 doesn't help. Queen takes f6. Out of interest, you might have seen that. So it's this idea of overloading the opponent, really, fundamentally, when it's your move and they've only got one move, and you try and do that. It's often at the centre of tactical wins. Now here is a rather spectacular win of Raymond Keane at Hastings in 1966 against a world champion, and it's very rarely that a British player beats a world champion. We have this position with Mikhail Botvinnik. Really, he had a very good position on the verge of winning. And in this position, he's tempted to get that knight. He plays a bit of a howler. Rook takes e2, which, okay, you might think, well, the rook's not loose. Yeah, we've got to emphasize, though, that looseness is detected often by forcing variations. Even though it's protected by one piece, the forcing variations might reveal, well, you could add two pieces to win it. But here, what is the double attack which wins this loose rook? If I give you 10 seconds starting from now. Okay, Mikhail may have been distracted by Raymond's bow tie, or maybe it was just tiredness. But this rook takes e2, unfortunately fails to queen g4 check. So even though it was protected by the queen, that's not a good rule of thumb for saying if a piece is loose or not. You've really got to examine all the forcing moves, and often it's the double attack which comes centre stage to exploit that actually loose piece, even though if it was protected by one piece, it's black's only got one move here. It can't play two moves to get out of the threat to the rook and the king, so he's losing that, and it's pretty bad. Okay, he's a rook down. Okay, so let's look at another game example. So Wang Hao, who's a very strong Chinese player, gets this position where, again, the knight you might not think is loose, but it's examination of forcing moves which often reveal a loose piece. And here, after rook d7, okay, there is a forcing move which comes centre stage, but there's also a fundamental double attack being illustrated. Can you see what white plays in this position? If I give you 10 seconds starting from now. Okay, f4. So the rook is only protected by the knight, and so that's immediately on a double attack. You know, both pieces are under pressure. And the unfortunate thing is, after rook takes d6, we have f takes e5, and again this is fork now double attack on queen and king, queen and rook. Pardon me, queen and rook. And there's also an attack here, double attack on the queen. In fact. Okay, so some more examples. So these are really cases of a tactical oops, not always, usually revolving around material. So this is Vasily Ivanchuk against Pedro Adorito, and you know, black plays just one loose looking move, knight a2, and yeah, this becomes center stage for the double attack again, this knight on a2. Actually, in this puristic case, it's not really protected by anything at all, is it? In other examples, we saw, you know, those loose pieces, in inverted commas, they were protected sometimes by things, but still they were exploited, and you know, forcing moves. But the underlying theme, you know, the double attack. But here, this is definitely not protected by anything, and it does seem to be doing a useful fork, though. So there's a lure of forking Ivanchuk's queen and bishop. But what does he play in this position? If I give you 10 seconds starting from now. Okay, queen d2. So he's double attacking the knight and bishop, which is also, it's just protected by one piece. And the unfortunate thing here is after knight takes c1, rook takes d7, black hasn't even got queen e8. If black had queen e8, right, then queen takes c1, queen takes d7 would be possible. But here, well, okay, here unfortunately there's another powerful move white has in this position, which is, for example, to double rooks, threatening classic mate in 2 with check in and check here. So it's still losing material for black, unfortunately, in this position. In the game, it was knight b3, and again, this looks, hang on, isn't this tricky? Queen d1 though, and now there's even, if queen e8 was played, as well as rook g7, there's also bishop h5 as well, potentially. So here it's unfortunate. Black played queen h4, and we see queen takes b3, that loose piece falling off here, and protecting the bishop. So queen f2 is not winning that bishop, protecting that bishop as well. So a lot of these examples illustrate well a number of different variations on the theme of loose pieces. So even when they're protected. Now this is an interesting example in a game Karpov-Kasparov Sevilla 1987, and Karpov went a bit overly enthusiastic here, positionally maybe. And okay, although there's an allure here to try to keep control of the c file, and it looks as though this move doesn't leave the rook kind of loose. It's protected by the pawn, but it's a forcing move, which unfortunately is pretty devastating here and embarrassing for Anatoly. Can you spot it if I give you 10 seconds starting from now? What does Kasparov as black play in this position? Okay, this is the kind of loose piece only protected by the rook as well, you can consider, and knight a5, basically evicting the rook would lose the bishop, and taking here there's knight takes c6. So black ended up winning the exchange in clear blue, in clear daylight, and that was a win eventually for Kasparov. So that was an unfortunate knight a5 missed. So these tactical accidents have often at the basis of them these loose pieces. Boris Gelfand against Levon Aronian saw this position where white did seem to be visually in difficulties, but made things worse in this position. So Boris playing white, 2737 at the time, in the chorus tournament of 2008 against Levon Aronian, 2739. He has got an unprotected knight here, and his next move doesn't really do anything about that unprotected knight. And so what do we know about unprotected pieces? You know, double attacks can really exploit them. And here we see the move bishop f2, which is a double attack on not just the knight but this point here actually, which is significant now, because if the knight moves, then we have bishop f3 mate. So that's why that's so decisive in this position. Okay, so loose sensitive points as well as pieces, because the king's kind of in a mating net already virtually with that pawn. Okay, so another example, Toplov against Kramnik. So in Belgrade tournament of 1995, we reach this position where c3 looks really vulnerable, and white tries to guard c3 frontally from the rook, but unfortunately black is able to create a loose piece anyway here. Can you spot it if I give you 10 seconds starting from now? Okay, black creates the loose piece by bishop c3. The queen's only protected by the king, and here we can basically have a double attack created with, I hope you guess it, a5. And the unfortunate thing is the knight's pinned to the king as well, so if the king takes, then we just win that queen. So it's the double attack which overloads the opponent. The opponent's only got one turn in the game of chess, so when you use your turn to do a double attack, or even some cases you might have a triple attack, then it's pushing the opponent over the limit, over the threshold of being able to parry and end up losing material. So here, Capablanca against Vera Menchik, Moscow tournament 1935. Whoops, he just played in this position. Bishop takes d6, and this is crushing here, because that queen is only protected by the king. So queen takes d6, we'd have rook f7 check, winning material. Okay, sorry about spoiling that one, but one last one from the Herceg-Novi Blitz of 1970. So okay, the oops position is approaching here after bishop a6. We have a loose piece here on a6. It's not protected by anything. We see queen c3 for Fischer attacking this knight, which is also kind of loose, and behind that knight is the other knight, so they've got to somehow protect each other. It is becoming a bit of a difficult position actually. Knight d7, but now we see this kind of double attack being created with, can you spot this next move if I give you 10 seconds starting from now? Okay, d6, and the point is, well, the point is that after c takes d, well, this might not have been the best move anyway, but it was blunder as well. C takes d, but c5 is not just an attack here, but also an attack on this c file against the king. So c takes d6 will be winning the queen. So that loose piece is at the basis of this tactical disaster here. And unfortunately, the knight's pinned after knight c5, so that doesn't help. So c5 is crushing, and so Fischer ended up winning the queen, and soon after the game. Okay, so from these examples, these are further examples of loose pieces, but I'm not sure I emphasised this idea, that it comes down to the fact, why is the double attack so important in relation to loose pieces? Because with a single move you're doing two things, and usually the opponent will not be able to defend both things. And they've only got one move. This is the fundamental limitation of chess. We're usually given one move each. It's a fair argument. One move each. So that's why the double attack is right at the centre stage often of winning material in relation to loose pieces, or it could be loose points. We call them tactical vulnerabilities, but it's the double attack which overloads the opponent because they only have one turn. In chess we only have one turn. So that's why it's such a powerful combination to think about. When you think about loose pieces, and we come back to the Cecil Purdy quotation, always look out for forks, he says. It's no accident he said that. He's tapping into the very nature of most tactical issues. It's one turn at a time, and when you use a fork, fundamentally you're using one of the most powerful ideas in chess, the double attack, and it's in conjunction with an instance of a tactical vulnerability, i.e. a loose piece, or it could be a loose point. So in these examples we kind of see that, and it's not a pure count of how many pieces are protecting a loose piece or not. You have to really look at the forcing moves to really detect and sniff out these tactical vulnerabilities. Okay, hope you got something from that in this part 2. Okay, comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.